Yo, what up, what up, what up, family? Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Fam. It's the most important podcast. I got to find some type of catch line that'll talk about like the most important podcast on the planet, which is actually not the most important podcast on the planet. At least to us it is, because it's ours. And we're so grateful for the many of you who constantly tune in week and week out, you know, who replay things, who share things with others, where we just kind of talk about things that's on our heart and things that we feel are relevant and resourceful to the kingdom and to your own practical life. We want you to live the best, most empowered life possible, and this is the place to be. This is the place to be. We have a special treat today. We have Malcolm and Reverend Toney Cross, who are talking about, you know, what it means to be a man and what, you know, we're doing here when it comes to like men's ministry and taking care of ourselves, taking care of the men in our lives, taking care of who we are and being the best man that we possibly can be. Because in this moment, I think, you know, we want to think about like healthy masculinity or healthy masculinities. We want to think about the different ways in which we can function as men and be the healthiest people that we possibly can be. That role may look different. That expression will look different for certain people given their life circumstance and things like that. But we want to be able to do whatever we can to be as healthy and happy and whole as possible. I believe, as Bell Hooks says, that wounded men can heal. And I think that once we are able to think about the things that hurt and deal with the pain that we feel and deal with the goodness that we possess and the gift that's inside of all of us, then we will become the healthiest, happiest, and most whole version of ourselves. So I hope y'all enjoy this time with them. They were excellent. You're definitely in for a treat. All right. Tune in. Let's go.
The men's ministry. Was that something that was here before you got here?
No.
So how did that come about?
So that's a great question, man. So it started. Well, let me go back. We had a remnant of a men's ministry when I first got here. It was called the Men of Issachar. However, when I first got here, it was about maybe 6 or 7 men, and they were really just doing service projects, but nobody really was leading them or teaching them.
Okay.
And what I started to notice around that time is a lot of those brothers were starting to get really tired. They were always asking them to do all this, do all of that. I mean, almost put a roof on the church. And those brothers were getting real tired, man. And so it died.
Yeah.
Completely died. And probably took about 3 years, but after that 3-year time of it dying and going away, God just laid on my heart a very simple and profound statement: teach my men. I'm like, wow. Okay. And that's when I just kind of started developing the platform, the skeletal model, what it takes to teach men. The service component was still there, but the one thing I noticed that God was saying that my men I need someone to teach them and lead them.
Okay, so let's go back to the men of Issachar. That's what it was called?
Yeah, the men of Issachar.
Issachar.
Yeah.
So are we talking about like older men? Because you said they was getting tired. Mm-hmm. So they was doing service work. So it seems like to now there's more of a focus on trying to get younger guys into the men's ministry. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming back then it was a bunch of older deacons.
No, that's a good assumption. You're right. Now, you got to imagine, I was 23, 24 years old at my time.
Oh, wow.
So you can imagine I'm young coming in. And so the guys that was in the men of Issachar, these guys are roughly mid-40s, 50s.
Okay.
They were, to your point, you're right. They were leaders of the church. They were deacons already. Right. They had been here for some time, leading in certain capacities. And so here I am, 23, 24 years old. I've never seen ministry from this perspective. Yeah. However, I can literally tell that they were getting worn out and just kind of tired. Mm-hmm. I come in with this kind of creative niche, this kind of creative perspective of doing ministry, not even really understanding ministry yet, but yet this creativeness of terms of how to do it a little bit differently. I'm young, I got youthfulness, I got energy, I got all this creativeness kind of going on in my mind, and I'm trying to figure out new ways. And I'm like, for me, it's a problem. We just working. We putting on roofs and cleaning up nurseries around here. Like, no, God got a whole lot more for men than just that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's not just a service component. And so that's kind of where it came from. So to your point, bro, it was older guys, but it was also older guys I could tell who wanted to do something different.
Got you.
Yeah.
All right, so where are we now with the men's ministry? Like, so is it in a place to where you're, I'm not going to say satisfied, but you're pretty happy on the growth of where it's taken from you being 23, 24.
Yeah, I am happy with it. I am not satisfied,
Gotcha.
and I think every year that's what drives me every year to continue on the ministry as I do. I mean, I'm now 14 years in, 13 men's conferences in. So that's been a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of teaching. But I know I've never been satisfied because every man as a part of Tabernacle is not connected to the men's ministry, right? So that's number one. Number two, I'm not satisfied because God says don't ever get satisfied, right? And then number three, I'm not satisfied because there are so many more men a part of our that's connected to the men's ministry and brothers who are not, who have yet to realize the purpose and the fullness of what God wants them to realize in themselves.
Yeah.
And so, no, I'm not satisfied, man. I'm always looking for better ways to connect with brothers. I'm always looking for better ways to get men involved. I'm always looking for better ways to get the brothers who are involved to get them to higher levels. I mean, since I've grown. I've grown from just being a regular member to being in leadership as a deacon to preaching and now ordained. And so, part of my trajectory, I feel like if I'm growing, they should grow too.
That is true.
Right. So the apple shouldn't fall too far from the tree.
That's true.
And so if I'm going to be growing, they got to grow too as well. So if I haven't been satisfied, then they can't be satisfied. So
from your knowledge, how many active men are in the men's ministry?
Right now we have about at least 80 brothers that I
Okay.
know of, and these are brothers that I see on a consistent basis throughout the year, throughout the month. I'm emailing them, and they're emailing me back. They're responding to me. That number fluctuates from time to time.
Yeah.
You can imagine during COVID, it went totally down.
Yeah.
Especially even before COVID, it was higher than that. So during COVID, it went down, and now since we come back post pandemic, the numbers have kind of increased and they're kind of getting back, if you will, but it's not to the level in which I saw pre-COVID. And a lot of those brothers who are coming back are not the same brothers anymore. So we lost some brothers.
Yeah.
Not due to anything we did anything wrong. It was just that brothers found other things they wanted to do. Brothers found other ministries they wanted to connect to, which is fine. Brothers found other ways to, I guess, get what they were looking for, that connection they were looking for. But for the brothers who stayed, we continued on just like pre-COVID. We continued on with classes virtually. We continue with classes on Sundays, doing different connection things to keep those brothers engaged. And now since post-pandemic, we've continued on that same process. So obviously, men's locker room has come back.
Right,
So we have that physical model of fellowship, connection, and ministry and teaching. But then we also have the man cave model. So the man cave is the virtual model. It's similar to a men's locker room, but no food. All right. Number one. And then number two, Man Cave has its own particular curriculum that I teach and that I share, and I do at least 2 books a year, if you will, in Man Cave. And so Man Cave allows brothers virtually to come together and share and talk and just be themselves, like a men's locker room, but just a different. It just has a different connection. And most of the brothers in Man Cave are a little bit different from what you'll see in men's locker room.
Yeah. So to pick back up on the men's locker room. So when I joined the church, I think it was like 2017, 2016. One of the first ministry I joined was, I don't know if the men's locker room was necessarily the ministry, but I remember I was attending that outside of Sunday.
Sure.
And I walked in, didn't know anybody. And I'll never forget one of the first people to quote unquote embrace me outside of yourself. It was Eric Dunn.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. So me and Eric, we were both in multimedia at the time, and so he embraced me. And then Cameron Williams was another one who embraced me and was a good dude. Me and him are still friends to this day. And there was something about it was something very different about the locker room versus kind of the fellowship you have on Sunday. There was a understanding that we all came in with some baggage that only other men could understand.
For sure.
And that's one thing that I can appreciate about the men's locker room is that, like, you can come down with your guards down, right? Ain't nobody gonna hurt you. You know what I'm saying? We in the locker room, everybody got towels on, ain't nobody got the armor on, you know what I'm saying? So, like, if you could tell me, like, to me, I think then I even knew about the man cave. What's the difference between man cave and the locker room?
Yeah. No, that's a good point, man. So first of all, let me go back to the inception or the birth of the men's locker room. So the men's locker room is not particularly the ministry.
Yeah, okay.
It's a teaching component within the ministry to connect the brothers.
Okay.
One thing I thought about when I first formed the men's ministry, the theme name of the men's ministry is actually the Bridge Builders. So a lot of people don't know that. Yes, yeah. When we first started, it was called the Bridge Builders, and I named it that because what does a bridge do?
It brings two sides together.
It connects 2 points together. Yeah. And so what I wanted the men's ministry of Tabernacle to be was a bridging ministry to connect brothers, or allow brothers to connect one another to safely cross, so as to say, no one's going to judge you here. No one's going to talk about you here. No one's going to look at you like you were crazy because you had a child out of wedlock, or because you may have been divorced 5 or 6 times, or because you're going through this, or maybe because you had a drug habit. No, we're not going to do that here. We're going to give you a apparatus, a ministry to allow you to grow and develop and be who you are safely, so you can connect with other brothers. But that's where that bridging perspectives come from. So the bridge builders, right? So we're building bridges not only internally, but building bridges externally. So what I thought about, here it is. So now we've formed the men's ministry, the bridge builders. I need a teaching component.
Right.
I need something that's going to grow them. I need something that's going to lead them. I need something that's going to feed them. I need something that's going to give them an opportunity to feel free, to your point. That's what a men's locker room came out of. So think about it. What is a locker room? A locker room, you play sports, I play sports. A locker room is nothing but a very dirty, nasty place where men and women have both seen it. A very dirty, nasty place that men and women who are playing that particular sport come to. But they ain't just coming in there just because it's nasty. They're coming in there to develop and design strategic plans for victory.
Yeah.
And so what I begin to think about is, here is an opportunity for us to come to a place to get gutty, to get nasty, to say what we need to say, to share what we need to share, to fellowship the way we need to fellowship. But at the same time, we are designing and developing strategic plans for us to achieve victory in life. That's the men's locker room, man.
That is a good summarization of that, man. And I can appreciate something like that here.
Yep.
Because, I've gone to, before Tabernacle, I was at another church, and the only other ministry that I was in that I felt like there was that people saw me was the divorce ministry, right? And there was a men's ministry. I'm not going to say the name of the church, but there was a men's ministry, but I didn't see eye to eye with them. They came in there high and mighty.
Sure.
Right. And, they had, accomplished certain things or whatever. And I ain't gonna say they looked down on me, but they saw me just as, somebody else in the room taking up space. You know what I'm saying?
Dig it.
And so the men's locker room kind of introduced me to it really made you and the men in that locker room really made this home for me. Right. Good men can preach a good word, but I didn't talk to good men like that. At that time, at least, I didn't talk to good men like that.
Sure.
It was that locker room that I came to on Tuesdays, and I felt like this was a place for me.
That's a good point, man. I think that I realized, and Pastor has shared this before, I realized, and he realized, that our church was maturing and our ministry was maturing when we began to realize that people weren't joining just because of the Sunday morning worship. I've actually had a lot of brothers, Cameron Williams, he's a pastor now, Pastor Thankful, Terrence Vandiver, and some other brothers who've literally shared their testimony with me that they actually joined Tabernacle because of the men's ministry. Now that's not to take away anything from the Sunday morning experience.
No, absolutely.
It doesn't take anything away from pastors preaching. But what it did help me to recognize is that outside of just Sunday morning, what they were also looking for was a deeper connection.
Yeah.
They were looking for a deeper fellowship.
Yeah.
They were looking for something that was going to really speak to them in that personal place. Because this, man. I mean, men have personal struggles, personal things going on, personal places that we particularly don't always feel comfortable sharing.
Right.
We only want to share with each other sometimes, and especially sharing with our loved ones, sharing with our wives. You'll be surprised there's different things brothers have shared with me that I know that they have not shared with their family members. And so men are just like that. We tend to be so attached to our responsibilities. We're attached to our purposes. We are attached to what we're accountable to. We are attached to those things. And so we get up every morning. You know this. We're both the same. We get up every morning. We go to work. We do what we have to do, and we're so attached to our roles and our responsibility as trying to be men. we don't really recognize how not talking, not communicating, not sharing is actually killing us. And so we trying to develop something for them to give them at least an opportunity to see another brother talking about his challenges, his circumstances, his background, his history, his stuff, gives that brother an opportunity to say, man, you know, until I'm comfortable, I need to do it with my wife, I need to do it with my kids, but until I'm comfortable, I can come sit down with this brother over here and I can do it over here.
Yeah. You know, going back to the divorce thing for me, going through that, I realized that I attached myself to a title rather than a person. I was a husband, I was a father.
That's real.
And I was an employee of whoever I was working for at the time.
Real.
I wasn't necessarily an individual person.
Yep.
And so one of the nights that I remember that kind of like, it made me realize that you never know what somebody else is going through. At the time, Cam had a heart attack or something like that.
Yep.
And I remember him sharing that. And me and him talked, but I didn't know that. And you never know what another brother is going through. And I didn't tell anybody about, you know, the divorce that I was going through, anything like that. Because, you know, to me, one, it was embarrassing. Because you believed that you were this person and that you was going to accomplish this. You know, one of the things that I'm not going to say I regret, because the person that I was then I was a younger person then. I told my dad is that I am going to be a better man than you were, because he didn't marry my mom. He didn't marry my mom, and he chose. And to me, at the time, he chose a career over raising me or whatever, right? And so that motivated me to get married and to have kids or whatever.
Right.
I don't regret getting married. I don't regret having kids, but it was the motivation behind it that hurt me. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so hearing Cam and other brothers share about, oh man, they didn't necessarily go through what I've been through, but they're going through something at the level of hurt. And you know, I really appreciated that. And you know, I think I never really thought about what the man cave was. Is it like a what, Circles of Growth, a small group?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just an addition to that. I got you.
Just an addition. Here's the thing. So part of my plan, going back to that birthing perspective that we were talking about, part of my plan was to, Reverend Woods was still, Reverend Miller was still here. He called the men's ministry like a small group on steroids. Well, that was the plan.
Yeah,
it really was the plan. What I wanted to do was to create a model where I could surround these men with constant food. Men's locker room, man cave, this Tuesday night experience, this Thursday night experience. Each one of them had different curriculums, if you will, but constant food. I give you an illustration. So playing ball growing up, and you can attest to this, playing ball growing up, whether you were playing some type of organized ball or whether you were playing, you know, in the street, on the street corner or behind on the asphalt, right, on the blacktop. As soon as you came home from playing sports or practice or whatever, what's the first thing you did? You went to the refrigerator.
Yeah.
You were hungry.
Yes, sir.
Right. And so what God began to show me is that if you want men to work, if you want men to be connected, if you want men to serve, if you want men to give you their best, the first thing you got to do is feed them.
That's right.
You got to feed them.
That's right.
Now, that don't always have to be physical food.
No.
But you got to feed them God's food too, right? And so what I was thinking about is this concept. If we want these men to help grow this church and be developed and to become more and become better, and honestly just be connected to this place we call Tabernacle, we got to feed them. And so I said, I'll do it. I'll feed them.
Yes, sir.
So I'm gonna teach them this, and I'm gonna teach them that, and I'm gonna teach them this class. And some people looked at me like, man, you crazy. It worked.
2 Timothy, chapter 1, verse 6. Feed me. What is that?
2 Timothy 1, verse 6. So here we have this amazing scripture, man. Most folk look at verse 7, where it talks about God did not give us the spirit of fear, but he gave us power, love, and a sound mind. But don't look at the verse 6, because verse 6 here is the whole book is literally Paul talking to one of his mentees in ministry, Timothy, about this perspective of Timothy's faith and the good work he's doing and the good work he's done, and just loving on Timothy. Like he's talking about how, you know, he's ready for Timothy to come back so they can be in there, but they can be in connection once again. He misses Timothy. Timothy has now become an apostle, if you will, something like Paul. And he's now going out and spreading ministry and doing great things in God because of how Paul has mentored him. Right, he's doing great stuff. But but in the first book, he's literally saying, "I'm ready for you to come back, for us to be together, be connected again, men's locker room, for us to be connected again because I miss you." But I know you're being faithful. You're doing God's work. But he also expresses as a sense of encouragement of coming back together and connecting. He also expresses, however, don't lose your faith, because it's your faith that's creating the work that you're doing, and it's encouraging you to go forward. And so he starts to tell him, fan into flames that level of faith and gift that I gave you, or that you have now, or that I gave you when I first put my hands on you, or when you first came to God. And so I want us to connect again.
Yeah.
Because I miss you.
Yeah.
But don't stop the work.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I want you to turn up the heat. And I think one of the challenges that so many brothers are having right now, bro, is we don't mind connecting. We don't mind coming together. We don't mind those moments, but brothers are not wanting to turn the heat up. Like here it is. We're not just coming together for us to eat food.
Yeah.
We ain't just coming together just because we want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys losing. We ain't just coming together because we want to talk about our special sports teams and golf. Those are different ways to get people. That's an attraction, if you will.
Yeah.
But we're coming together to set you ablaze.
Yes, sir.
And so that is where the theme, fan into flames, 2 Timothy 1:6 is coming from. Brothers, we ain't just coming together just to be coming together. We're coming together for you to remember what God placed inside of you. So it's now it's time for you to set that thing in the blaze.
So tell me about the event. The men's conference week. Rather.
Yeah.
So what we got coming up first? And like, I guess, you know, I see 4 events. What is your personal goal for each of the events that take place?
Thank you for asking that question, brother. So to fan in the flames, first of all, one of the challenges that a lot of men have is their health. So
yes, sir. How
how can you live in purpose? How can your purpose be understood and known unless your physical and your mental body as well? So first thing first I wanted to do was create this another men's locker room model. But if we can do that, let's do a health panel. So coming up next week, Tuesday, November 7th, we're going to do the health panel. And in that health panel, we're going to have some special guests coming from different areas all across the CSRA, and they have different specialties, such as, I give you a few of them. Dr. Will Evans, he'll be he's a psychologist. He's going to be dealing with mental health. Dr. Mac Bowman, a cardiologist, he's going to be talking about cardiology. Dr. Sharita King and Dr. Zachary Clausen, they're going to be dealing with prostate health and cancer. Dr. Ronald Brown II, Deacon Brown's son, he's going to be talking about gastroenterology. So he's going to be talking about when all of us got to go get that colonoscopy. So that important stuff brothers don't want to talk about, right?
No.
Yeah, for sure. But he's going to be talking about that. And then lastly, we got Deacon James Sabb. He's going to be talking about law enforcement.
Okay.
So we picked these 5 particular areas because these are areas that a lot of men have different concerns in.
Yeah.
You know, their cardiovascular health, their heart health, how the blood is flowing, prostate health. A lot of men don't know that prostate cancer runs rampant with our people, especially with men and African American men. But a lot of people don't know that when you start having prostate concerns, you can also have erectile dysfunction concerns. And a lot of men, they don't want to talk about that because they don't want to deal with the latter part of it, right? And, you know, it'd be better for you to deal with that now so you don't have those concerns on the back end, right?
Hope y'all listening. Y'all listening.
So we're going to be talking about those particular things, why it's important for men to deal with those things and understand your health, and even from a mental health perspective, why those things are important now, and possibly how there are some mental health challenges that's keeping you from being your best in God. And so we're going to be talking about that. So then Friday, November 10th, we have our annual golf tournament. So a lot of brothers will be coming out. We'll be playing over at the Patch that day. Deacon Jimmy Taylor is coordinating that, but brothers are signing up and registering now. They're getting their teams together. and we're just gonna see, man, who's the best team out there. It's probably gonna be mine, but
I hear you.
yeah, for sure, you know that.
Pastor
but,
told me you cheat, man.
no, that's a whole nother story in itself, man. But no, we just it's just a great way of connecting and coming together on that Friday, man. As we play golf and do our thing, good. Man. And brothers are excited about that. And then on that Saturday, man, we are excited for our 15th, actually, no, our 14th conference. 13th conference, 14th year, our 13th conference, man. We're local this year. Fan in the Flames, man. We're excited about it. We got 3 awesome speakers. Pastor Harold Moore from Watley, Georgia, will be here. He's going to be sharing with the brothers, you're waiting on God, but God is waiting on you, right? So many of us are waiting for a comet to come out the sky, and God's like, no, you start moving, and then I'll show you which way to go. That whole Abraham perspective, right? So he's going to be talking about that. Deacon Dwayne Williams is going to be talking about, so now you're retired and you're finished, so what next? So many of our brothers, especially our older brothers, they retire from their secular jobs. They retire from the military, retire from their secular jobs, and then they also retire from Jesus.
How so?
Well, think about it. So you had an amazing military career. Yeah. You've had an amazing civil career where you worked on your civil job or whatever, and then now you're retired, and then so many of them don't get connected to church. And here it is. Now you have more time than anybody to connect with Jesus. Now you have more time than anybody to connect with different things that Christ may want you to do, different purposes. You got more time than anybody. And so now they retire, and it's like, well, I've done my time. No, you got all the time in the world. And so there is some what next. And so Deacon Williams is one of those guys who he's literally retiring from, he's retired from the military, and he's retiring once again from his civil position with the military, but he understands that concept that I'm not done yet. There's still more for me to do because I ain't in the ground yet. Yes. And so, hence, I'm retired, I'm finished. So what next? What does God have next for me?
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and then also Reverend Chanel Monet Dixon from Build Mount Zion in Macon. I met this sister back in February when I did Build Mount Zion's men's conference. I was there, and she was sitting next to me. And she has this great concept of therapy and ministry. She literally blends together ministry and mental health. And while she was there with those brothers, we were in St. Simon's. While she was there, man, she was giving it to those brothers. I mean, she was real.
So she could speak directly to men.
Oh, my God.
So when I saw the picture of her, I was like, wow, that's interesting. You know, having a woman, like, I'm not saying woman can't do it, but like for a men's a focused event to have a woman up there, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I've always tried to do something different to attract the men, to connect the men, and so just doing something different as so. But here's a sister that ain't scared to talk to brothers that I noticed, and I'm like, you the one. Yep. She's a Fort Valley grad. I know Fort Valley well, and she's a Delta, so very happy to see that. So she knows African American men. She knows the platform, and she knows how to connect, like I said, that ministry perspective along with mental health. She's going to be talking about some mental health barriers that are keeping you from being your best in Christ. Okay. And so she's going to give it to us from that perspective, but she's going to get real with the brothers. So I'm hoping, pray they're ready. Because it's going to be a sister coming at you, not to belittle anybody, but it's going to be a sister to kind of help open up some doors, open up our minds a little bit. Yep.
Change that perspective a little bit. When's the deadline to sign up?
Actually, it's coming up on Tuesday, November 7th. Brothers need to go ahead and get signed up. I've been hitting the brothers up. We've been pushing it through the church, and I've been pushing it through emails and my different platforms of how I push it to the men, even across the CSRA. I've been pushing it to other churches as well. Deadline is 12 o'clock midnight on November 7th. But I'm pretty sure if you call the church, there will at least be able to get you registered and get you in. So brothers, look, don't wait till the deadline. Don't wait till the last minute. You know how we do, man. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till the deadline. Go ahead and get yourself registered for $65, man. On that day, you're going to get breakfast. You're going to get lunch. You're going to get all the conference stuff that I'm talking about. And you're going to get a conference jacket. If you're a tab brother, you're going to get a conference jacket that we're going to be wearing on that Sunday for Sunday worship. But if you don't want the jacket, it's $35. So you get the same conference resources, teaching, and you also get the breakfast and lunch for $35. And so we got some brothers coming in from out of town that's going to be paying for that. And so we're excited, man. So brothers, look, come on, man. Invest in yourself. Invest in Christ, because God's going to invest in you. take this time and opportunity, man. Let's just do it together. And let's fan in the flame together.
All right, man, that sounds like a plan. Look, this has been an episode of Let's Talk Fam. I am obviously not Dante Stewart, but I hope there was some information that Reverend Cross shared that is benefit to you, especially to the brothers out there and women. You have men in your life as well. Sign them up. Buy them a ticket. Buy them a pass to get in there. Reverend Cross, thank you. Thank you. It's been a good conversation. I appreciate you. I appreciate the men's locker room.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything that you do for this church.
Thank you, man.
Because if it had not been for you. And Reverend Goodman.
Yeah.
But you good brother, man. I appreciate you.
I bless you, man. And you know, it's been a journey. You know, I've had my up and down times in ministry and just getting here, but I remember my walk getting here, literally my walk getting here. My journey started fresh out of college, walking from Second Street in Ellis, because I lived on the corner of 2nd Street and Ellis, walking literally every Sunday and every Wednesday to church.
What church?
Tabernacle. Literally walking an hour and a half every Wednesday, every Sunday, just to go to worship. An hour and a half to Bible study, an hour and a half to Sunday worship, and walking back at the same time. So that was my walking ministry, literal walk. But I learned Christ. I found Christ. I found Christ. Christ always knew me. I found Christ. But I found a purpose in doing so, man. And I think that is what has connected me to this style of ministry in the way that I do, man. So every now and again, bro, I kind of go back to my humble beginnings in terms of what that looks like and kind of help encourage me to continue to move forward, man. So love what I do. I've been doing it for a while, man, and I ain't satisfied. We got to go get some more.
Ain't satisfied. Love to hear, man. You all, y'all take care.